All right. So welcome everyone. I don't know why this is recording like this. Just give me a second. Okay. So welcome everyone. I'm Elpa. If you don't know me, I think I know everyone who's on here right now, but from the people that might be watching it later might not know who I am. I'm the garden to table manager at the Open Door. And this is our Giving Garden kickoff meeting. I just kind of wanted to go over some just basics about being a giving gardener and just kind of some expectations and things, and then open it up for questions and comments afterwards. So yeah, welcome. I keep getting pop-ups on my computer. So yeah, so you guys are all giving gardeners, and what that is people who are growing food for the food pantry. So the things that you get from us is you get a free plot if you are adopting a plot from the Open Door. Some giving gardeners have their own spots, either at home or at another organization, another church, or school, or any other organization. But if you have an adoptable plot with us, you get a free garden plot. You should have access to tools and water on your site. There should be compost bins. And from us, you get plants and seeds. And we do ask giving gardeners to grow certain things for the pantry. And the kinds of things the pantry would like are vegetables that don't need to be refrigerated, because their refrigerator space is taken up by retail rescue from grocery stores. So the kinds of things that go really quickly there or don't need a lot of space. So the things they like tomatillos, beans, all kinds of peppers, especially jalapenos and poblanos, corn. She said they get tons of cucumbers from all over Dakota County because all of our cucumbers are in season at the same time, but they're really popular. As long as they don't turn into those big, huge yellow ones, they'll go. Asparagus, red and green cabbage, peas, and celery, winter squashes of all sorts that are not yellow. For some reason, spaghetti squashes, other yellow squashes, yellow summer squashes, they don't go at the pantry. For whatever reason, they're just not popular. So they don't need yellow squashes, but any other winter squash goes. Root vegetables go really quickly, like carrots, beets, garlic, radishes, turnips. Those are good things. Greens do go, but they go on the free shelf, and that's because they just don't look very good on just a shelf that's not refrigerated. We don't have those sprayers and things that they have at grocery stores to keep things looking pretty and crisp. So those things just kind of go on the free shelf, so it doesn't count towards the client's order of whatever they're shopping for. Fruits go really well: berries, melons, and rhubarb. And herbs, because herbs are expensive. So herbs go really well. Those are also on the free shelf for the same reason as any other leafy greens. They just don't last very well on the shelf. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that before I move on? No? Okay.
What about tomatoes?
Nope. They do not want tomatoes or zucchinis. No tomatoes, no zucchinis. And we do have a lot of like tomato disease in our community garden soil. So we also are trying to kind of, it's hard to make anyone do that, but trying to, if you're not a client, it's kind of good to not grow tomatoes because it just kind of keeps that in the soil. I don't really tell people not to grow tomatoes for themselves if they, just want to, but if we can avoid it, it's kind of nice. Or if you do, just put a large leaves or mulch or something underneath so when it rains, the disease doesn't splash up on the leaves because it's in the soil. Or even watering just by putting the hose on the ground next to the plant instead of spraying it, and then it just splashes all over and spreads the tomato disease even more.
How about rutabagas?
Those will go. Yep, they like root vegetables. Yeah, good question.
Alba, can you tell me the list of those peppers that you shot off? Like, is it, I heard poblanos, and what were the other ones?
Jalapenos.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of the hot Asian peppers also, like Thai chilies and things, will also go. Peppers in general are popular, even bell peppers.
Thanks.
Yeah. Does anyone else have a question about most needed vegetables? Okay. Things to just know about delivering the produce. You can bring it to either location, which is the Egan Pantry, that's at 3904 Cedar Grove Parkway, or you can bring them to the Apple Valley mobile location, and that's at 14757 Energy Way in Apple Valley. It's best to bring them earlier in the day and earlier in the week, so they have more time to get rid of it. Because if you bring a bunch of lettuce and greens on Friday afternoon, we don't have appointments on Friday afternoons after, I think, noon or 12:30. So that's going to sit all weekend and then probably end up in the compost. So if you can bring things earlier in the day, that's great. If you can bring things earlier in the week, that's great. If you on a Friday afternoon had pumpkins or something like that, that would probably be okay. I mean, they would just hold them there until next week. And if you also bring it when the pantry's not open, you can leave things in the vestibule. As long as, just be mindful of like what it is, because you probably wouldn't want to leave leafy greens on a Friday evening that's going to stay there until Monday morning, and then they'll go bad. So just things to think about. Another thing to consider, and we try to make this as easy as we can for you, is to bring the harvest in a way that's easy for people to give out and recognize what it is. So at most of the garden locations, we'll keep clamshells in the sheds. Clamshells are like those plastic containers that strawberries and, sometimes lettuces and things come in. So we'll leave those in the sheds, and you can put your harvest in them and then close it. And there's labels inside the binders at the sheds. There'll be green binders at all the sheds. And there's stickers in the back. So you can just put a sticker on it and just write, who it's from, or your garden name if you don't want to put your name, and what it is. Especially it's good to do that with greens and herbs, because a lot of times at the pantry, the volunteers who are working there don't know what it is. And so it's just good to do that. If you're bringing herbs, it's also kind of nice if you can just like maybe use a twist tie and put a little tag on it of what it is. I haven't figured out a good way to have tags yet at the garden locations. I'm thinking of just using the same template of the labels we have already, the stickers, and just maybe printing on paperboard. And we could have a hole punch or something, and you could use a little twist tie or something to tie it together. Just so people know what it is and can give it out properly. Yeah, so those were the main things. Is there any questions about that, about how to deliver things to the pantry? No. Oh. Okay. Okay. So then I guess just some questions that are kind of frequent with giving gardeners is like, do I have to weigh my produce at the garden? Yes. Everything that gets taken out of the garden, whether it's from a community plot, like if you're bringing strawberries to the pantry, they don't grow in your plot, but you're, taking care of them. Yep. Those get weighed at the garden and written down in the binder at the garden. And then they will also ask you to do, so this is why I think people ask, is then they also will ask you to do that at the pantry when you deliver it. And the reason is our systems don't talk to each other. So I need just to know the pounds of harvest just to be able to report that information. So my system doesn't talk to their system, and they need to know how much comes in and how much goes out. So every time something comes in, they weigh it. And every time something goes out by clients, shopping for their things, they weigh it before it goes out. So then we know the number in between is what's getting wasted. So that's why you have to do that twice. If you've already weighed it and you know how much it weighs, you can just write that on the receipt there and just skip the weighing process and just be like, I already know it was 5 pounds of strawberries. So, and then write that on the receipt. So that we have record in both places. They also just want to keep track of where the produce is coming from. Listen, retail rescue versus giving gardeners. And so it's just also good to always do the receipt just so they know how much is coming from the garden versus how much is coming from, a retail rescue at a Target or something. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions?
Any idea about when the water will be turned on at the gardens?
So generally, water at the gardens is turned on after Mother's Day. And I know that you're at Crossroads, and Crossroads does have water issues. So hopefully they've got it all fixed after last year. I know there was a pretty long delay before they got their water on. They had some pipe issues, and so hopefully those should be ready to go on time this year.
Okay. No.
One
Any
thing
other-
to remind everyone is to, when you garden, we had an issue last year with people forgetting to turn the water off after. That's so important to do that. And
Yeah.
So
So my solution to that at some of the gardens, and this is not everyone's favorite thing, so you don't have to do this, is I took the sprayers off of the hoses. So then people have that thing that they can see that the water's still running. They have no other way to shut it off besides go to the faucet and shut it off. Plus it reduces the whole disease spreading thing of just like spraying your plants and soil splashing up on everything. And, so, and last year was also a drought. So it's kind of a more efficient way of getting the water to the roots instead of spraying the leaves, because the leaves don't really need that. So that's my personal favorite way to deal with it, but it's a community garden and everyone else needs to want to do that too. So I kind of leave that up to you guys. But it is an issue, yes. Any other questions, comments? I just remembered something I can tell you. I think would be helpful for you to know that each one of the community gardens will have volunteer shifts each week. And so we'll have volunteers there to help like mulch paths or turn compost piles and weed. So it would be great if you are available at those times and wanted to come help. That'd be wonderful. If you can't help at those times, that's fine. You know, people work during the day or whatever, and these are all, you know, during business hours, regular business hours. Another thing is that often we will harvest from Giving Gardeners, unless you tell us you don't want us to, and just take it to the pantry if we're there, just because otherwise the zucchini gets humongous in overnight, or, you know, if we see a lot of vegetables that are ready for harvest, then we do that for you. And we'll write your name in the binder with your weight of the vegetables from your plot. So it won't get like lumped together with everyone else's. So, you know. Yeah. Right. Does anyone else have any questions?
I have one. I'll put my camera on. Do you know if there's any issues at Valley Natural with slugs or anything like that if I wanted to try to do cabbage this year?
I haven't heard that there is. There's different solutions for if there is slugs. I mean, you can put eggshells around the plant because that kind of cuts their little skin there, and so that's one thing. Or sometimes people put a small thing of beer, like a little shallow, and they kind of go all in there too. And I've also had good luck with growing like mint around it. It seems to keep a lot of those cabbage moths from laying their eggs there. Yeah. Right. Anyone else? No? All right, well then I won't keep you. If you have any questions about your individual, like questions that are, you know, not Giving Gardener questions, but just questions about your garden or your plot, you can just stay on. And thank you all for growing food for the pantry. We really appreciate it. And yeah, so thank you so much. And I'm going to stop recording. So if anyone has specific other questions, they can ask.